Welcome to Lifing 101, a journey through life's experiences, challenges, and interpretations. An intriguing and soul-refining podcast that explores the countless twists of life. Get ready to be amused, enlightened, entertained, empowered, and inspired. Hosted by Tina C. Christian, your MC with the LPC, and guest co-host Lorenda McKinney, your MC with the PhD.
Welcome, lovely listeners, to an exciting episode of Lifing 101 podcast,
where we dive into life's little mysteries and offer you insights to help you lead a happier, more fulfilling life.
I'm your MC with the LPC, Tina C. Christian, navigating y'all through this journey up and down and all around on this emotional roller coaster we call life.
And I'm your MC with the PhD, Lorenda McKinney. So grab your favorite beverage, find a comfortable spot, sit back and relax while we embark on this restorative journey together.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening out there. Okay, so welcome to today's topic for the Toxic Free 2024. Today we're going to talk about,
Toxic parentals.
Girl, I hope your mama don't hear this. Be trying to whoop my butt. Was you talking about me? Come here, heifer. No, but for real though, y'all, I'm sure we know some toxic parents. If we're not toxic parents ourselves, or if our parents aren't toxic. But I know that. Let me just say this: we've been on the Toxic Free 2024, and we've been kind of going over some of the toxic traits and things to look for and red flags and things like that. And everybody can have some toxic type of traits about themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're toxic, but maybe you have some toxic behaviors. So although you may not completely be a toxic person, you may have some toxic tendencies or some toxic traits. Wouldn't you agree, Doc?
I agree. And then sometimes we may tend to pick up toxic behaviors because the people we deal with are toxic. So you start dealing with them in a language that they can understand. So
right.
I think we all can have those toxic behaviors. We may not be the full-blown toxic person, but I think that we all could be guilty at times.
Right. So if you hear us talking about toxic traits and you hear something that you identify with, doesn't necessarily mean you're toxic. It just means that you're displaying some toxic behaviors. So with that being said, we're going to talk about toxic parents today. What are some of the things that, when you think of a toxic parent, what are some of the things that you think are really some of those things that would identify a highly toxic parent?
I think one of the biggest would be the emotionally abusive parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because there are so many people that I even come in contact with in my profession that there are things that happen when they were children or said to them that they can't get past. And a lot of times, even when you hear interviews with athletes and stuff, they'll bring up things when they ask them what pushed you to be so strong and be this way. And it's, my parents told me I wouldn't be nothing, or
right.
My parents told me I couldn't do this, or so those things stick, and they stick from parents because those are the people that you think love you the most. So you like, if they say it, it must be true.
Correct. I would totally agree that is one that would be on like my top 10 list, definitely, because again, as we spoke to the same type of topic last week about how emotional scars are sometimes lifetime scars.
Yeah.
And they take a long time to heal. And if you're not resilient enough, you may never bounce back from it. So I agree. Emotionally abusive parents are really highly toxic parents. And some of the things that I think about that even go with that in regarding to the emotionally or psychologically abusive parent is the manipulative behaviors and the gaslighting and the dismissing of your feelings.
Yeah.
So if I had to say number 2, I think all of those would be number 2 for me, because they're like a 1A, B, C,
right.
D, actually like that. Because, I mean, you think about it, manipulative behaviors, that's psychologically abusive anyway.
It is.
So if they're manipulating you into doing things that they want you to do as a parent and trying to guilt you into doing things, all of that to me is really emotional abuse. So yes, I would say that those things are 1A, B, C, things like that. So if your parents, if you're listening to this and you're doing these things, then you're possibly a highly toxic parent. And if you're a child and your parent has done this or is doing that to you, again, this may be something that you want to talk to them and or someone else, a professional or something about. Whether you're an adult child or a teen or a young adult, definitely something you want to visit with someone, maybe even a professional.
Right, because I'm sure that there are obvious side effects from it. Like the parent is aware because there's no way you can ignore the obvious. And then the child that can't just, forget about it, they're aware because it probably affects them daily in their life. So
right, definitely. And so, like I said, with the dismissing of your feelings are valid. Let me just say that anyone and everyone's feelings are valid. If you feel a certain way, your feelings, your perception, or your reality. So they are valid. However, if your parents are constantly dismissing your feelings, I'm not saying that, if a parent done it once or twice, oh, I got a toxic parent. No, I'm saying someone that always dismiss your feelings and try to make you feel like your feelings aren't valid or trying to make you think that what you're saying isn't true or something. Right. They could be very well gaslighting you, trying to make you feel like you're delusional or crazy or something yourself. Yeah,
because what it does is it makes a child not trust their own voice. So they'll tend to not speak up and they'll just kind of let people do them any kind of way because they've been taught what's the point of saying anything? Because it doesn't matter. So.
Right. And also when I think I've talked about it before, poor boundaries. And I told, you guys how my mom would come and stand outside my door because I'd leave her there because she could not understand why she couldn't just pop up at my house because she's a parent. It's like, I'm your mama. Yes, but I'm an adult. And I've asked you to respect these things. So therefore, if they have poor boundaries and not just like that, but with everything,
yeah.
Some examples would be like what, Doc? Other than coming to your house unannounced and things like that.
Yeah, maybe they just don't even know like when's the time and place for them to say or talk about certain things. Like say they bring up things in company that they should not.
Right.
It could be things like that where they don't respect privacy. Like those are things that me and you should talk about.
Right.
Those are not things that a group of people should know about. So they could not respect that. Definitely just not popping up or say that they know you have a routine and say they know what time you go to bed and they don't even respect that. They know that you'll be triggered to answer because you want to make sure that they're okay.
Correct.
But at the same time, they also know that that's outside your routine.
That is correct. So, those are some of the things in regarding to boundaries that I would agree are sometimes something a toxic parent would do or a highly toxic parent would do as well. Another thing in regarding to that, when you were saying that, I think of when we were talking about that, I started thinking about when they try to give you like the silent treatment, like because you're not giving in to them or what they want you to do. They're trying to manipulate you. And because you're not being controlled or you're not allowing them to disrespect your boundaries, then they try to guilt you into doing things or they try to treat you with a silent treatment because now to me, it's like childish behavior.
It is.
And so they become juvenile or they start ignoring you or being silent or not answering your calls or if you're in the same house, they're acting like you're not existing.
Right.
All of that is very toxic from a parent because as a parent, you are supposed to be there for your child emotionally and or physically if you can, especially if they're children. But if they're adults, I know, some responsibilities and obligations may be over. However, just to ignore someone and give them the silent treatment because they're not giving your way is very toxic and or juvenile to me.
And I think regardless of the age of the child or the adult child, it still matters. Parents are your safety net. And I think that you should never have to worry about them treating you like an enemy or somebody that's not a true friend. I just think that you should never have to worry about that.
Right. So, Doc, I think, with parenting and toxic parents, of course, this is going to be a sensitive subject when you're talking about people's mamas, because, people don't like to play the dust. What you say about my mom? But no. So here's my thing. We've gone through a lot of the different toxic traits with you guys from the beginning, the very first series, because we wanted you guys to kind of know what the toxic traits were and to be able to identify them. So as we're breaking down each one of these each week, each segment or episode or podisode, we're really giving you like scenarios and examples to really pay attention, because sometimes you may not know what that looks like.
Right.
So with parenting, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time because we feel like, again, we're not going to be talking about nobody's mama. And for two, we just want you to know the things to look for. So with the things that we've already said, what are some other things, Doc, that we can kind of quickly go through and give them some ideas of things to look for to identify whether they're a toxic parent or whether they're dealing with a toxic parent?
So I think another one basically would be withholding affirmation, especially if that's how you understand, if that's the relationship that you need, and you need someone that tells you that they care about you, or you need the hugs, or you need that extra sense of love, because we probably say I love you. If we talk to each other a million times, we say I love you a million times. Right. So that can be a problem. And then if you're around people that do it, but you are not raised that way, then it may spark that interest, like, wow, I didn't realize that I might needed that, and I didn't get it. That's why a lot of times it's probably not a good joke, but I'll be like, man, they sure missed some hugs when they was kids, because it's really true. It's really true. You think that that's something that's so small, but in all factuality, it actually is something that can be big. Those are little things that kids need when they're growing up. So
to be told that they love, they're loved and they're protected, things like that. Yes, definitely. But another thing that I can think of is the parent wanting to demand your attention and be the center of attention. And instead of being a more supportive, parent to the child, or emotionally supportive, or whatever they're wanting, it's about them. Me. Selfish, want to always be a drama or king or queen and throw fits and throw tantrums when they don't get their way. That's another thing that I can think of, as well as them being overly critical of the children. I mean, again, I'm always bringing that one up. You see
that?
I am.
She go,
critical.
C word, critical.
But no, and I know my daughter would probably say I'm overly critical to her, but I don't think that I am. But this show isn't about her, so let me just stick to the topic. But anyway, overly critical parents, meaning that they're always criticizing you. Everything you do is a problem. It's never good enough for them. You disappoint me, or you can't ever do anything right. Or why do you do things like this, that, or everything you do is always wrong. When I say overly critical, I'm not saying giving you constructive criticism, critiquing you on things and trying to help you grow and raising you. No, I'm saying like just really putting you down and or criticizing everything that you do. So overly critical, that's the key word here.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Are they constantly putting you down? Do they see that it bothers you and they just do it more and more? So they know that they're pretty much diminishing you. And then I was just going to go back. I wonder if sometime when parents are demanding your attention, or they convert back to like the child, I wonder if they're really just trying to get payback, like in their mind, because it's not rap tight. If they're thinking, they owe me this attention, I gave them attention when they were, instead of thinking you were supposed to do that.
Right. That could be one of the reasons. I know that there are other reasons, such as maybe they didn't get attention as a child. So we could be dealing with parents that have adverse childhood experiences that they never resolve. And usually when you have toxic people and or emotionally disturbed or hurt or challenged people, they may have experienced some traumas or some things in life that they may not have resolved. So again, when you're dealing with people, I like to say that may not be functioning properly, or they're doing some things that are toxic or have some bad behaviors, ask yourself, like, what happened to them?
Right.
Not what's wrong with you, but what happened to them? Because 9 times out of 10, something happened to make them who they are. Yeah,
there's
today.
a why.
And like they say, hurt people. So maybe something happened to them as a child. Maybe they didn't get enough attention. So now they're that's a trait that they have. They always want attention. Yeah. So that could be one of the reasons, Or like when we were talking about withholding affirmations, and maybe their parents did that. Like, so that was learned and taught behavior. Yeah. Again, any of these toxic behaviors could be learned behaviors. Yeah. And they could be conditioned to be that way.
Right. And then with the affirmations, you hear people say their parents said, I loved you. I took care of you. And that's true. You did take care of them, but that doesn't mean they don't want to hear it.
They just need to hear it and know. Maybe it would feel better if it verbally came out of your mouth, because I was one of those children. I told my mom, I remember at 21, and she told me she loved me. And I was like, you know what, Mom? I can't even remember the last time you told me you love me. And she was like that, well, you know I love you. No. I mean, I assume you love me.
Right.
And I think that, you know, the things that you do, you showed me, you try to show me, but I can't remember you saying that.
And you can never hear it too much from anybody, not just parents, but anybody in your life. It's never too much. You're never going to tell somebody, ooh, don't say that.
That's too much. Stop.
You just not.
But yeah, so again, I don't know. I never asked my mom why she didn't. It could have been some learned behavior or she was conditioned to be that way. I don't know, but I want to explain to you guys that if you have a toxic parent and or if you're a toxic parent, think about it. Something probably happened to you or that person that makes you that way. So if you see these things in yourself, get you some help. If you see these things in your parents, talk to somebody, maybe do some family therapy or something. I don't know, church, somewhere. But anyway, deal with it the best way that you can and know how, and get some assistance from somewhere. But some other things that I can think of for toxic parents, definitely physical abuse. Yeah. You know, we know without a doubt that's some toxic. What are some other things that we may have not touched on?
So the physical abuse kind of goes with harsh punishment, but it's just like they want to see you suffer. Yeah. They want to make sure you may have did the smallest thing wrong, and they want to make sure you pay the highest price. So it's just, and that's abnormal. So you should honestly see it, even as a child and even as that being your parent. Gosh, that's a little harsh. Like the punishment doesn't match the crime.
Right. Definitely. So, yeah, that blaming you for things, trying to control you, all those controlling behaviors. Again, we've talked about a lot of these traits. So if you're seeing them in your parents, again, you may have a toxic parent or you may be a toxic parent, and try to get some assistance from somewhere or join a support group for toxic parents or create one. However, get some help, people.
Yeah. And voice your concerns or what's going on, because you may be keeping things inside and that's causing you to be that way. But I just think it's important that if you are the toxic parent, that you realize it, because you're going to affect your children. You'll probably affect your grandchildren. You'll probably affect your great grandchildren. So I think you have to be aware of it. Yeah.
So again, people, think about it. Some of the things that we want you to think about when you think about toxic parents are controlling behaviors, blaming, manipulating, being overly critical, holding back affirmations and demanding attention, emotionally abusive, giving people the silent treatment, physical abuse, and using harsh punishments and dismissing your feelings.
Dismissing feelings.
So we're not going to harp on it. I feel like we've given you basically what we wanted to share with you. If you have other type of highly toxic behaviors that you can think of that you know other people may use as parents, or if you know your parents use, feel free to leave us a comment, a voicemail or something. I constantly tell you guys that you can, and we also leave it in the outro. However, I want to encourage people to call in more often or leave comments. I know everybody doesn't like to talk, but you don't have to talk to me or Doc. You can leave a message on the voicemail, or you can just leave a comment on the YouTube or any of your favorite podcast platforms, people.
Yeah, and we don't want you to wake up early tomorrow morning at your parents' house knocking on the door. Come out. I got some stuff to talk to you about.
Square up.
Listen to this. Yeah, we don't want you to do that.
Please
we
don't.
Just want, it's so much going on in the world that your close relationships need to be healthy.
Yes, we want healing.
Yeah, and even if it's hard for you, it's just something that you have to address, because there's so much going on the outside that when you're around your people, you want it to be healthy.
Correct.
So let me give you a little gem to take along with you. So we want to share some love, whether we're sharing toxic relationships or not. We always want to end it with something positive for you to take along with you. So here is a quote by Bell Hooks. Love is as love does. When we love children, we acknowledge by every action that they are not property, that they have rights, that we respect and uphold their rights.
That's a good one, Doc. And that's very appropriate for our Black History February as well.
It is.
Until next time, people, stay hopeful
and stay curious.
Before we part ways, we invite you to share your own stories, thoughts, and reflections with us. Connect with us on social media, reach out through our website, or simply leave a comment on your preferred podcast platform. Feel free to leave us in voicemail at 816-607-1243 with any thoughts, concerns, or questions that you'd like shared on Lifing 101 or just answered or addressed. If you prefer to send us an email, feel free to do so by sending it to our website, lifing101pod.com, or send us an email to info@lifing101pod.com. Your insights and experiences enrich our shared understanding of this incredible journey we're all a part of. Please subscribe to this podcast and follow our website, lifing101pod.com, and find and follow us on your favorite social media platforms. Stay hopeful, stay curious, and keep embracing the vibrant, unpredictable, and awe-inspiring journey that we call life. Goodbye for now, and may your days be filled with endless wonder.